RCTP, Beginner to 512, Level 1, 5.6 to 5.10a, Part 1. 5.6 to 5.7. Technique 1. Practice resting hands.
The first technique that I tell every beginner to do is to take hand rests. So when you think about it, while we're climbing, our hands are always up in the air. We're always, just holding our hands here, and our blood is flowing down from our forearms, and it can get very tiring. So if you just need to take a few seconds just to shake out your arms like this. And it's not really hard, but I definitely notice a lot of beginners just don't do this. And I think the main reason for it is they get tunnel vision, they might be a little intimidated by a route, and they think they always have to make it up, and they're not taking any time to just rest out their hands. So rest your hands a little bit more.
2. Learn when to take rests.
The second tip for beginners is to start to become mindful or more aware of when to take rests. So one thing that we end up doing is when we hit like an easy section of a rock climb, we might decide to just blast through it because it's now like finally the hard part's over and now I can start to do something easy and I can just like very quickly connect the moves. And that was something I did a lot as, a more novice type of climber. Now that I'm more advanced, every time I find like an easy section, I'm like, oh yes, I finally get to rest because I don't know if there's going to be another hand rest later on. So anytime I hit anything that allows me to rest, like let's just say, I'm climbing here and I come over and I hit this beautiful jug, I'll be like, oh yeah, now it's time for a rest. And I won't focus on actually continuously climbing the route. What I'll be focused on is making sure that I rest out proportionately to how much more I have to climb or what's coming up next if I know it's a really hard section.
I'm going to climb this route, and what I want you to notice is how many times I rest for the next 2 clips. And think about how many times do you rest for 2 clips on a wall. So as I reach up for this first hold, you're going to notice that I'll take my first rest, here it is, and then here's my second rest. I'll undo this clip and I'll move to the next hold. Now, when I get to the next hold, it's pretty big, so will I use this to rest? No, I don't think so. I'll keep going. Alright, I make it up to this hold right by my next clip. Oh, there's my third rest. And here is my fourth rest. So how many rests do you take on a wall between 2 clips? Would you have taken 4 here? 3. Don't always move in a specific rhythm.
Sometimes I've noticed beginners put themselves into a rhythm while climbing. They'll do something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, and they'll keep repeating that up the wall. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, I don't really know where this comes from, but what I can tell you is that you might be able to continue this rhythm from grades like, let's say, 5.6 to about a 5.9. The main reason for this is that there's lots of holds everywhere, so you can keep doing this rhythm of one hand, one foot, one foot. When you start to get into the 5.10s, you might not be able to keep this rhythm anymore, and you might need to start breaking it. So this is just something that I wanted you guys to be aware of, because if you're a person who does this, maybe take a mental note and say, it's okay to break up your rhythm and maybe do 1, 3, 4, 3, 2. That's okay to do, and you'll become a better climber for it.
5.7 to 5.8. Stand on the balls of your feet, then toe.
The next technique to start focusing on is to climb on the balls of your feet and slowly moving towards climbing on the toes of your feet. What I do see a lot of beginners doing is they like to climb right here in the middle part of their foot, and I understand why. When you stand right in that middle part, it's a very solid, firm feeling when you're climbing. As you start to go to the balls of your feet and up to the toes of your feet, it starts to become very fluid, and you rely a lot on your calf strength to hold you into position. And so if you have weaker calves, you might not like putting yourself into that position, or you might also not be able to fully hold that move a lot. So let me show you what I'm talking about here on the wall. So if I start, the beginners normally focus on like putting their foot right here, somewhere where it's nice and solid and they're planting themselves here. What I want you to start to do is just to move it back to pretty much the upper half of your foot. And even if you're not fully using your toe, but you're at least standing mostly on that foot, that's great. And the main reason why I want you to do that is as we start to go up in grades, we see this is like an easy grade hold. This would be like at a mid 10 range hold. That is much smaller, and now I have to start moving more and more onto my toe in order to just be able to do that move. And then as I start going up even more, you know, we have this hold right here, which is even smaller, and I need to be able to really be precise with my foot placement in order to make that move.
Technique 2, if short, match on holds.
If you're a shorter climber, use your littleness to an advantage and start to match on some holds. What you might notice in some videos is that my rock climbing partner Renee will match on holds. Some holds I couldn't even think about matching on. Like for instance, this finger pocket, I can put 2 fingers on, but sometimes she's able to actually put 4 fingers in this while climbing a route outdoors.
I paused the video here so that you can see that there is one large hold on my 2 starting holds, and that I only put one hand on this hold the whole time I'm bouldering. If you notice, my hand just stays there, and then I keep up going and continue the problem. Now let's watch my rock climbing partner Renee, as she is smaller and she matches on that hold. This is something that I couldn't do or wouldn't do, but this is the beta that she uses as a small climber. If short, measure the wall. Sometimes as a shorter climber you can feel that holds are set too far away for you and that you might not be able to actually make the move. Well, what Renee's doing here is she's finding T-nut holes and she's measuring how far apart she can actually reach. So she's going to count, as you see, coming back in, and then she figures out how far her wingspan is, and then she also measures from her height from the top all the way to the bottom of the wall, and then she can figure out how, you know, high those holds can be for her to perfectly reach them. So now when you're on a route, you can sometimes just look up and say, yeah, it's about like 7 holds away. I should be able to reach that. And as for a bonus, it's sometimes really great to be short. If you notice, Renee loves hitting these youth boulder problems. She always comments that, hey, they're just set like perfectly for my height, whereas somebody like myself who's a regular average height adult, you know, climbing these youth boulder problems can sometimes be fairly restricted, and you know, it's not really fun for me to sometimes climb them. But it's great that, you know, being short, you have your advantages and you get to practice these types of routes that are perfectly set for your height.